Oh, that's me. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Sophomore Parent Night. I'm Bill Berg. I'm the Academic Vice Principal, and I'm going to start us off, as we start most of our things at Bellarmine, classes and meetings, with a prayer. So if you would center yourselves with me. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Loving and gracious God, as our children continue their journey through high school, we lift them up to you with hearts full of hope and trust. You have gifted them with talents, dreams, and a purpose uniquely their own. Guide them as they explore the paths of college, career, and life, helping them to discern where their passions meet the world's needs. Grant them wisdom to make thoughtful decisions, courage to embrace challenges, and resilience to grow through success and struggle alike. May they always seek truth, act with integrity, and strive to be people for and with others. Lord, we pray too for ourselves as parents. In the midst of our hopes and anxieties, help us to accompany our children with patience, encouragement, and faith. Strengthen our commitment to this school community that together with faculty, staff, and fellow parents, we may nurture an environment where each student is known, loved, and challenged to become their best selves. Remind us, Lord, that we are not on this journey alone. We are one community, bound together in the Ignatian tradition of discernment, service, and love. May we remain engaged, walking hand in hand with our children, supporting their growth and modeling a life of generosity and purpose. We ask this in the name of Jesus, through the intercession of St. Ignatius, trusting in your guiding spirit. Amen. Again, welcome to our sophomore parent evening. Before I turn it over to our awesome counseling team, I just wanted to kind of go over some things and share some things with you, and invite CW up here in just a moment for just a second or two as well. But I just wanted to share some thoughts and would draw your attention to this graph up on the screen. Again, it's a very, very exciting time for you families, and I'm eager to hear the insights from our counseling department that they're going to share with you tonight. As your students begin taking an earnest look at their next steps, whether in college, career, or life, we are here to walk with you every step of the way. In collaboration with you, we have been preparing students to embrace these next stages with confidence and purpose. Tonight's presentation will provide an essential, though not exclusive, roadmap to help guide your family through this transformative journey. The 10th grade is a pivotal year. It marks a time of significant growth, self-discovery, and academic focus as students start making more concrete decisions about their futures. They're not freshmen anymore. They're not quite upperclassmen. The transition from the sophomore to the junior year builds on this momentum, fostering increased independence, deeper discernment, and a stronger sense of purpose. At Bellarmine, these critical years align with our mission to form well-rounded individuals. As students navigate their journey through high school, they are called to integrate the skills and values we emphasize: academic excellence, moral integrity, and spiritual growth into their decisions about what comes next. When you were considering Bellarmine, you likely heard us mention, you certainly heard me say this repeatedly, about how we are in a partnership with you in the education of your students. To that point, here up on the screen are some areas where that partnership is really, really critical. The mission and formation at Bellarmine. This reflects the heart of Bellarmine's mission. We are dedicated to developing students who not only strive to excel academically, but also embody the Jesuit ideal of being men and women for and with others. By fostering a commitment to service, justice, and compassion, we guide students toward lives of meaning and impact, both now and in the future. Your support as parents is crucial to this mission. As students explore the next steps, your active engagement helps reinforce the values of purpose, resilience, and faith that are central to the formation at Bellarmine. Opportunities to engage. Your engagement enriches this community and supports our shared mission. There are many ways to get involved, things that we would really ask you to consider. Some of the volunteer opportunities, like Philomathea or working in the Lion's Den, These provide meaningful ways to contribute your time and your talent. There's also some parent groups we would encourage you to consider being part of. Organizations such as PASA offers avenues for connection and collaboration with fellow parents. Communication is key. Staying informed is essential to remaining actively engaged. Bellarmine Z-News, delivered to your email every other week, is a valuable resource for updates, events, and information pertinent to you and your student. We encourage you to make a habit to review each edition and stay connected to what's happening in our community. Supporting our mission financially. As a private Catholic Jesuit college preparatory school, Bellarmine relies on tuition and the generosity of our families to fulfill our mission. We invite parents to share their time, their treasure, and their talent to ensure that our programs and our opportunities continue to thrive. Your contributions, large and small, help sustain the transformative experience we offer our students. And the last thing I want to touch on is being an ambassador and champion of Bellarmine. As you approach your child's junior year, coming up real soon, remember that you play a vital role as ambassadors and champions of Bellarmine. Share the mission that drives everything that we do. Help spread the word about the extraordinary community we've built together and the life-changing opportunities we provide. Your partnership is invaluable, and together we can continue to make Bellarmine a place where students and families flourish. I thank you for your time. I'm very confident you're going to get a lot out of this evening. Before I introduce our counselors, or before the counselors come up, I do want to introduce you to C.W. Herschel. He's our Vice President of Advancement in Community Engagement. Thank you.
Thanks. So we did a junior parent night a couple weeks ago, and Bill and I ended up wearing the same outfit. And yesterday, he said, "CW, let's wear the same outfit again."
I thought it was fun.
I'm the one that got played. Well, thanks, Bill. Thanks, everyone. I know you have a long night, so I just wanted to say a few things and to reiterate and highlight a few things that Bill mentioned about volunteering and giving. And there's just a couple of things on the screen that I wanted to touch on. Again, on volunteering, there's lots of ways to assist Bellarmine, and I want to focus on three of those: volunteering, giving, and prayer. From a volunteer perspective, Bill mentioned there's lots of ways to help Bellarmine, be it through groups like Philamathe or the Boosters, or even to volunteer for a football game and help us in the parking lot. If there's a way that is meaningful to you, we ask that you help in that way. Another big part is annual giving. We have our annual fund, which helps support the school on an annual basis. We also have our tuition assistance program. As you might know, 45% of our students here are on tuition assistance. So a lot of our effort in giving on an annual and ongoing basis is focused on helping those students continue to be at Bellarmine and help them in the future. Another area is our business partnership program. We have about 36 business partners this year, which is great, and they're from a variety of different areas in our community. They help us in so many ways, both from a support from underwriting and sponsoring, but we also are able to help them and give back from an advertising and marketing perspective. If you know someone in the community that we should talk to, or you think would be a good partner with us, we'd appreciate your help in making those introductions. Formation. When we think about prayer, Father Greg Celio, our Jesuit superior over the last couple of years, has focused a lot of time on Ignatian formation. You've been invited to masses and community prayer nights, and our Ignatian formation nights, and our community rosaries. For us, that's another way, and as Bill mentioned, the notion of mission and formation is central. So as we think about giving and giving back, for us, part of that is that Ignatian formation. The next one, I think for everyone, is April 10th. So I'd invite you, if you have the opportunity, to join us and Father Greg for that night. I think most people that attend have a great time, and I invite you to join us. And then lastly, events. I'm excited to announce we have our annual Bellarmine Gala, which is our biggest fundraiser of the year. That's on March 1st. We actually closed ticket sales last week, and we have a waiting list, which is great. It's the first time we've had that for a few years. We have 540 of our closest friends coming to the Booster Gym that night. Again, that's another way to volunteer. It takes a lot of people to put off an event like that, and it requires a lot of volunteers. So we're very thankful for those folks in our community that can help support us either by attending and giving, but also volunteering. And if you can't make it, as you might have heard from Haley, Liza, and Rose, we're selling raffle tickets. They're $50 a piece, and you get 2 first-class round-trip tickets on Alaska and $1,000 on a Marriott card. Again, simple ways, but very meaningful to help us in all those areas. And lastly, just prayer. I know each of us can give in certain ways at different levels and at different times based on where we are. And so I ask all of you just to consider again, either volunteering, some giving from an annual perspective, or prayer. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. But thanks again. Have a good night.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. If I hadn't had the pleasure of speaking with you, my name is Tawana Wilson. I am the department chair for the counseling department, and we are so happy to have you here with us this evening. We're going to keep it going and talk a little bit about moving ahead for your sophomores. Can you believe it? Your babies are sophomores and we're talking about college. That's crazy, right? Okay, you guys just dropped them off freshman year. They're all nervous and scared, and now here we are talking about the halfway point and what's going to help move them to the next phase in this journey. And so we are here just to support you all in that process, and this meeting tonight will just be how we do that, how we support you and your students in finding their right fit for post-high school and beyond. And so as a part of this Bellarmine community, Bellarmine is committed to supporting your students, and we have adopted a access framework. And within that framework, it is our holistic, mission-driven approach to helping your students be college prep ready. And our focus in the counseling department with that is focusing on the college, career, and life readiness for your students. Okay, so it's not just college prep, but college and beyond. How are they ready for life, for whatever they are deciding they want to do at that post-education? So we're preparing them for a roadmap. All right, and we are here to let you know that we have you throughout this process. We are here to support you, answer questions, and really walk with you, as Mr. Berg shared. So our agenda for this evening, we're going to talk a little bit about our mission. We'll go over the college admission process. We'll talk about what matters to colleges and what should matter to you. Just help normalize that process, the college process for you. Talk about how your student can prepare themselves by going to college visits, fairs and tours, how to search for colleges, testing information, finding your best fit, extracurriculars, service and leadership, and then we'll end with athletics and military information. For those of you guys who are note takers, just an FYI, we will have this presentation posted afterwards on My Bellarmine, so you can go back and review on your own for anything you might have missed or just to refer back, okay? So our mission. In the counseling department, we are here to provide support to not only your students, but to you as well. We are here to help students grow through the transition from teenager to young adult, by assisting with thoughtful planning, decision-making, skill building, so they can take ownership of this process. We really want them to take control. Your student will drive the process, and we're just here to guide them through that. We aim to consider family needs, ease the parent stress by evolving your role from manager to now consultants. All right, does that sound okay? We help match students with colleges that will best fit them for graduation and success beyond the emphasis of best fit. We offer information and assistance in a timely manner. So this is just a brief overview of how we connect with your students and the different touch points that we are helping them to develop. So becoming a person for others, leadership development, spiritual development, ability to take responsibility, physical development and wellness, ability to reflect on their own ethical behavior, empathy and cultural awareness, college preparation, environmental consciousness, academic knowledge and skills, intellectual development, and then again, becoming a person for others, all right? This is what we want for our students. This is what we want them to leave here feeling confident, prepared to enter the world with these skills. So, I have the special pleasure of bringing you Hillary Powell. She's the Director of Undergraduate Admission at Pacific Lutheran University, who will just go into more details about what colleges are looking for and how your students can prepare. Can we give her a round of applause?
Good evening, everyone. I like to kind of get a feel for the room when I'm starting presentations. So how many of you, the sophomore in your family is the oldest student? Okay, so the first time going through. How many of you, this is maybe your second time? Okay. Third? Fourth? Fifth? Okay, there we go. So some of this might be new information, some might be repeated information. My goal today is to kind of give you an overview of the admission process and how it relates to what a sophomore might be going through, or maybe some patterns of behavior they can improve on now, ones that they should stay with now, and some things just to prep you for what's coming really in about a year and a half. The college application process is not that far away, so let's get you prepped and ready for that. So this time of year is the best year to start exploring colleges. So it is not an easy question of where you go to college to have an easy answer. So it should take time in the college search process for you. So here's some ways to do that. One, encourage students to ask questions and do an introduction. Right, there's probably maybe one thing on your student's mind right now of what they think they want in their college experience. That might change in a year and a half, but let that lead the college search process. So right now, if there's a major or an area of involvement or a sport or a state or something that they're really excited about, use that as your starting point. It might change, right? It might be totally different from where they end up by the end of their senior year. But if there's just kind of one thing that can start it, that's really all you need to do. So you can consider desired major, consider some goals. Budget is a really big one. I really recommend you start having the conversations with your students of how you're planning to pay for college today, because this will really prep them in the college search process of what types of schools they should be looking for, or how much you're expecting and willing to spend as a family in college, and potentially help them in understanding the importance of grades, which we'll get to help them pay for college as well. So have the conversation early. I've done this job for a little over 10 plus years, and I've seen a lot of excitement in the college choice, and I've seen a lot of disappointment in the college choice, both on the student side and on the parent side, when there's potentially some disappointment from the parent side of, oh, I can't send my kid to the school that I want them to go to because of the budget. So having that conversation early, setting those expectations can really help you in the next couple of years. There are a couple different ways to explore this. College rep info sessions. Part of my job, I'm the Bellarmine admission counselor, but also my team of 8 that work in PLU's admission office is to go to high schools and chat at high schools to the students that are going there. So if there's ever a flyer or information saying, here are the list of colleges that are coming to Bellarmine, take a look at that. Encourage your student to go to that visit. Most of the time, they're very kind, and they just sit and listen to me talk for 30 minutes. But if they can come with one question, that makes my life so much easier, and the admission life so much easier. So encourage them to start going to those info sessions. Attend a college fair. This can be a really low-risk way of checking out some schools. And go and talk to the tables. Especially if students, and if there's any students here, you're going by yourselves, don't join the river that goes through the college tables at the college fairs, but go up and talk to the people, right? Have 1 or 2 questions that you're ready to prep with, and that can help you decide yay or nay if you like that school or not. You can do campus visits in person or regionally. How many of you have already done a campus visit potentially for your student now? Okay, cool. this is the best thing to do. I'm a graduate of PLU. I originally am from Gig Harbor. I said I would never go to PLU. There was no way I was ever attending the university. And I was kind of looking at schools. PLU kind of had checked some boxes of things that were important to me, like having a major I was interested in, a study away experience. So I was like, okay, I'll apply. Then I went and toured, and I got the end of the tour, and I looked at my mom, and I said, well, just kidding. This is actually my dream school, right? But if I hadn't done the tour, I probably wouldn't be here tonight. So being able to go on those tours, tour a really large school, tour a smaller school, do the middle, right? Have your Goldilocks moment, whatever that is. But being able to tour is really important. We have an abundant amount of higher education institutions in the Puget Sound, so go to any one of them, right? Even if it's school where it probably is gonna be a no, just go and tour, see what it's like, get on that college campus early. And then obviously, YouTube, online search sites, all the other ways that your student is probably looking at colleges. So what qualities matter to a college? This is kind of an extensive list, but academic achievement, faculty respect, especially at those smaller schools, their faculty are starting with them from day one, right? So in that college search process, thinking about as a student, what type of educational experience do I like? Do I like at Bellarmine that I get to know my teachers, that my teachers get to know me, that it goes beyond just the subject matter in the class? That maybe should be a clue of the type of college that your student looks at, right? Or if they're maybe a really independent learner and just want to go on their own, then you might be looking at a larger school that allows them a little bit more independence and opportunity that way. So those are some things they can kind of clue into, but also what matters to the college. Motivation, leadership, self-confidence, reaction to setback, resiliency, concern for others, social justice. All of these go into our selection processes in terms of, does the student's values line up with the college's values, right? We want it to be a two-way relationship in that way. So there are different ways when they actually go to the college application side that they can showcase this. As I kind of talked about, engage with the college reps. So I'm the one who reads the Bellarmine applications. That's part of my job as the admission counselor for Bellarmine. That is true at a majority of institutions in the country, that the admission counselor assigned to the high school is the one reading their application. So the more you engage with the college admission counselor, the schools that they're interested in, the more I can help you as a family figure out if we're the right fit for you and vice versa, right? So have a couple of those kind of go-to questions ready to go. It can even be as simple as, do you have this major? And what type of experience does the student have in that major, right? Try to get away from a yes or no question, but what's maybe the follow-up to a yes or no question that they can have ready to go. And then, like I said, the college rep is normally the one that gets to know the school. So I know really well the students that attend Bellarmine, and also I can easily call up the counselors at Bellarmine and say, hey, I noticed this student had this thing happen in sophomore year. Do you mind sharing kind of how they're doing now within high school, right? You get that benefit of having counselors here who really know your students well, and I know that I can trust the counselors at Bellarmine to kind of give me an insight into how a student is doing within their college experience or college search process. So being able to have that is really important when you have a counselor on the college side that knows the high schools that your students are coming from. Every high school also sends us a school report. So the school report tells us what types of classes are being offered at the school, like how many AP classes or college in the high school, how many students are there, where the students go to college, so that if there is potentially a college that has never had a Bellarmine applicant before, they are getting the information about Bellarmine. So there's no need for you as the parent to tell the college that, because we're getting the information we need in that school report. And if a student isn't sure where to ask or what to ask or where to start, Appley has a really great kind of list of questions that you can ask on a college visit. So that can be kind of a nice place to start. Something that Bellarmine really encourages is sophomores to look at 3 to 5 schools of interest at some point this year. So maybe a school the student already knows from the state where you currently live or think about. We encourage located in a state they might be interested in living someday, right? These can kind of help narrow down. If you're going on vacation to California for spring break, choose a college to go visit while you're down there, right? Most of us will offer you lunch, so you also get a free lunch out of it. You'll get a coupon to the bookstore, right? Start getting that college gear. Is the food good? Is an actual legit question. So try it for yourself though, I will say. But those are some things that can kind of help in that process, and that is totally appropriate for a sophomore to be doing. So we're going to break down the college application process a little bit, and these are generally the 5 things that you'll see as a part of, for majority of the common application, which is how a lot of students will be applying to college. The common application is one application that can be sent to multiple institutions. And this is normally what each college needs. Now, there's an asterisk besides everything on here, because what's true for one school is not true for another school. So start the spreadsheet now of what each school needs or is looking for, because that will, your organizational skills will really help in this process. But a transcript, that's always going to be directly from the high school, a recommendation, an essay, an application, and test scores. So we're going to break down kind of what this all means. So T is for transcripts, grade trend, and rear of coursework. This is one of the more important parts of a selection process, or why a student might be admitted to a university or not, is the grade trend especially. If a student maybe had a tough transition to Bellarmine, right? Maybe freshman year didn't go the way that they hoped it would, but sophomore year is going a little bit better, and you can see that junior year is really going to where it clicks in, and senior year they'll gonna kind of finish it out. Upward grade trend is great. That's kind of what we're looking for if a student maybe didn't start where they expected to in freshman year. There's also downward grade trend, right? They really killed it freshman year, sophomore year didn't do as well, junior year didn't do as well, right? The GPA is going down. This is something that colleges really pay attention to. We pay attention to the cumulative GPA, and we pay attention to grade trend. So for us, it is more impressive, right, for a student to go up than down. And if a student is going down, it means that there needs to be a little bit more information in their application process. So if you have a student right now who is at the cusp of the turn up, right? Encourage that, help them get there, give them the skills and the resources that they need to make that upward grade trend. You technically are halfway through the educational process of what we'll see when a student applies to college, right? Because I'm seeing freshman, sophomore, junior year grades. I don't see senior year grades unless the college is asking for them, or potentially we're holding an admission decision until senior year grades have been posted. So the cumulative GPA at the end of the junior year is the GPA that your student will carry into the application process. Important part to know. So for at the end of, right, we're at the middle of the sophomore year, we're halfway through. If you are in that process of potentially seeing a downward grade trend, time to have the conversation about how do you kind of get that back up. Another big one is course selection, and I will say this kind of for junior and senior year. Senior year, it's just making sure you're not taking all fluff classes, right? You have to go to college 3 months later after graduating, so you don't want to have a really easy senior year. But especially for junior year, I will say, if the student is really wanting that push to go towards a college in the high school class or an AP class, it doesn't have to be every single class, right? What's more impressive to a college is a student is successful within the classes and the subjects that they know kind of are their strengths. But if your student, for me, example, is not a great math student, please don't put them into AP Calculus. Like, it's just not kind. It doesn't help them. It doesn't show us as colleges that they're willing for the challenge. It shows us that they weren't ready yet, and that's okay to not be ready yet. So only take the kind of challenging courses or their honors levels courses for those areas that they're feeling ready to make that jump. Weighted or unweighted GPA. So Bellarmine will weight the GPA on the transcript. Universities generally will also weight a GPA, so it depends on the school if they'll use the high school weighted GPA or their own weighted GPA, or if they use the unweighted GPA. This is where the asterisk comes in on your college search spreadsheet. So for us, like at PLU, we use a weighted GPA, but we use up to a 4.5 scale. So we kind of weight everybody to get on the same scale. But those are generally going to be your honors level courses, your AP courses, and some schools will weight college and high school, some will not. It depends on if the student has earned credit or not, because they're already earning that college credit in that sense. So again, each school is a little bit different. And what will you submit? Normally you're going to submit an official transcript. So that goes through the counseling department, the request comes in, they send it directly to the college. Some schools will allow you to have unofficial transcripts or be able to self-report. It just depends on the application process and on the college itself. R is for recommendation. This is something that your student can be thinking about now. Who do I potentially want to write my letter of recommendation? First of all, you want to know how many and if any are required. A lot of schools are going recommendation optional, so that's something to be thinking about. Does the college ask for a specific type of recommendation? So some might be looking for it to come from a pastor or from a teacher or from a coach, right? A majority of us will say we would like it to be from a core academic teacher, right, who can talk about them in the classroom. Help your student consider who to ask. It's maybe not the teacher they got the best grade, right? It may be the teacher that they worked with and maybe it was a hard subject for them, but they pulled out that B+, right? And so being able to have the teacher that can talk about them as a student is what we're kind of looking for in that letter of recommendation. And then give them time. Bellarmine's really great at putting timelines in place to make sure your students aren't asking the day before for a letter of recommendation. But I always recommend at the end of junior year, kind of be thinking about who you want to have write and potentially give like a quick, hey, can I ask you in the fall to write this letter of recommendation? Thank the recommender. This is true for kind of anything, but also let the recommender know if you got into the schools that they were recommending for you, right? So a lot of times they'll write this letter and then they don't hear whether the student got into the school. So do that follow-up is always really nice for the person who spent time writing, hopefully kind words about your student. The essay. You can kind of read the tips and tricks on this. I come back in senior year and we kind of dive into this a little bit more in the fall. But what I will say is that it's this time in the high school experience that a student is potentially having the moments that they'll write about in their college essay or thinking about kind of how they might write their college essay. And a mundane story is oftentimes way more interesting than a essay where clearly the student was trying to like pretend to save the world, right? I don't expect that to be happening in high school. What I want to know is what are the things you see every day at your high school and how does that impact you as a student, right? I had one student a very long time ago now write about the bark on a playground and how she remembered like playing with her brother, right? Kind of those little moments, sometimes thinking about it as a creative writing prompt versus a research paper on yourself can make it a little easier. But as a parent or supporter, I would maybe start like keeping your own little journal of things that your student has done or overcome that they might forget about later on that you can have kind of in your back pocket ready to go when they're like, I don't know what to write about my essay, which that is 100% what they're going to say to you in a couple of years is I don't know what I want to write about. And they're coming to you to be able to kind of say, what should I write about, right? And so maybe having some of those kind of in the back of your head might help. And then A is for application. The college admission landscape is changing every year. There's not one year of this job that is the same for me, which is exciting. I love that. Other people find it scary. But it means that even for those of you that have been through this process a couple of times, it might look completely different for your student when they're applying in a year and a half. So the biggest one is there's a lot more direct admission opportunities now. So whether that's through niche direct admission or the direct admission from colleges directly, where a student can have kind of an expedited college process. The Common App is still the most common, but being able to kind of have that all prepped and ready. But we will have a resume of activities generally on any application, or especially for scholarships. So what I recommend is that if you don't already have that resume of activities going for a student, start it today. Because there are things that they maybe have done in freshman year that by the time fall of senior year hits, they're going to totally forget that they did that one thing on a Saturday. So being able to have that resume of activities going, have that running spreadsheet or Word doc or however you keep track of information will help them when they're going back and applying for especially scholarships or admission at institutions. The other thing is that leadership is not just being president or vice president, right? We look at family commitments, we look at jobs, we look at the things that they did over the summer. So it doesn't have to be what maybe traditional like clubs and orgs looks like. It can be a whole bunch of different things that a student is doing that can go into that resume of activities. So just keep in mind it doesn't have to be necessarily here in the building. It could be the things they're doing outside of the building or responsibilities they have that way too. Test scores, some schools are bringing them back, some of us don't care. PLU is one of the schools that doesn't care. So this is one where you're really going to be paying attention to things. Ms. Keene's going to go into it a little bit more, but it still is valuable to take the SAT or ACT because there are a lot of schools that are bringing it back, especially at highly selective institutions, or looking at things like national merit scholarships and things like that. The big one though is AP scores. If your student has taken an AP test, keep track of those and send the scores to the schools early that they might be considering, because some schools will have different like early opportunities for juniors to come in and have different academic experiences based on those, but also get them prepped for different scholarship opportunities too. And then some final tips. There are fewer than 100 colleges in the U.S. that are considered highly selective, meaning that they accept less than 25% of their applicants. Your child is going to get into college, right? So take that part and that fear maybe off of the table, but having a wide selection of schools that they're looking at allows them to be in that pot. So being able to start this process early really helps. The parents are an important part of this, right? You are the most trusted source for them in their college search process. There's a ton of data out there that says you are the ones that they are going to, and if you don't say it's good, they're probably not gonna go. Now, whether you feel like they're listening all the time or not, I'll let you decide, but they really are and value your input. So being involved in this process, getting to know the schools that they're looking at, it is your college search journey as well. So take that ownership too as their supporter, as their parent. And then expressed interest does matter. So going on those tours, being able to have that chat with the admission counselor, that might be the person that they're gonna be talking to here at Bellarmine. Utilize that. There are some schools that will take that into the college decision process or the application process for a student. And then there's always exceptions to every rule. So start that spreadsheet of colleges, what they're looking for and what they hear, and take advantage of the opportunities that Bellarmine has offering to be able to kind of get to know those colleges more. So again, my name is Hillary. I'm the Director of Undergrad Admission at PLU. My information is up here. You can also always find it on the PLU website just by looking for who's the counselor for Bellarmine. I will be here after, so I'll be up at the front to be able to ask any specific questions you might have. But you should be really excited about this journey. It's a fun experience. Again, free food. So be able to be excited about kind of the next couple of years ahead. Thank you so much.
Okay, how are we feeling? Is that a lot? Yeah, it's okay, we're here to help you, okay? So now you've heard from the college admission side of what colleges are looking for. Now we'll go into a little bit about our process here at Bellarmine and how it aligns with all those recommendations that Hillary just offered us. So sophomore year, this is where we are, okay? Like we already noted, it is a pivotal year. You are at that halfway mark to applying to colleges. So your students will, in a year and a half, be making these choices, making these suggestions on where they potentially will spend the next 4 years. So again, the upward trend. We want students really focusing on their academics right now. Second semester, right? We have first semester done. Now we're looking ahead. Soon, students will be meeting with their academic advisors to make their course selections for next year. And so this is where we really want students to be mindful, like Hillary said, maximizing on their strengths and areas that they do well in, and not overwhelming themselves, but also keeping in mind balance so that we can ultimately produce the best transcript to submit to colleges. And then rigor. Like I mentioned, balance is important, so we want to challenge ourselves by also creating success as well. So we want to pursue interests and different course selection. So like Hillary mentioned, I'm not good at math either, okay? I'm not going to go and take an AP math class if I know that's not an area of strength. Where I am stronger is in the English, so I would pursue that and try to maximize that. Okay, so just taking that holistic review when you're making those selections and registering for classes. And then thinking about engagement, all right? How is your student connecting with the school, the community? How are they looking to serve? And how are they looking to be a leader? All right, we have lots of opportunities here at Bellarmine and within our community for students to engage and connect. And we'll talk a lot more about that in this presentation, about different opportunities that we offer, but really keeping that on the focus for this semester and for the summer for your sophomore. And then career and major exploration. Utilizing the assessments that we offer to students so that they can start really determining what do they value, what do they want out of their post-high school experience, what is important to them, what is not, and so that they can actually look at that and make a best fit determination for themselves. And then attending college fairs and exploring different colleges so that they are knowledgeable about the different schools that are available to them. And then their counselor meeting. So we will meet with all our sophomores after spring break. Right now we're meeting with our juniors for those individual meetings, and then we will follow up and meet with our sophomores. This is a great opportunity for us as counselors to meet with your student individually. Up until this point, we have seen them in group settings unless they've come in on their own for different concerns. And so this will be our opportunity to really kind of lock in and focus on them and find out what's important to them, what their interests are, what are they thinking right now in this process, how we can be a support to them, and really just kind of have that conversation. Those meetings will take place before school, during lunches, and after school, and they're typically about 15 to 20 minutes. They will reach out to us to schedule those meetings. We have a scheduling link in our email so they can just go and see our calendar and just pop in whatever fits best for them. And we will remind them after spring break to sign up for those meetings. But parents, if you can also encourage that too after spring break, they are required, so it's better if they come in and we don't have to chase them, okay? All right, and then junior year. If you picked up a handout, hopefully you did, you'll also have a glimpse of this in your handouts. It's the checklist, so you can kind of see ahead. But the same considerations for junior year. Definitely trying to encourage that upward trend in grades, keeping their academic rigor strong, continuing with engagement, all right, if they haven't had an opportunity, or benefiting off of what they've already touched into. So if they've had an experience in the community, they're at school, and they're now maximizing that opportunity and taking it to the next level, whether that's leadership or service. And then pursuing colleges. Again, attending college visits, demonstrating interest, reaching out to those schools, going to college visits, meeting with admission counselors, and then also getting on the emailing list of a school that you're interested. Or maybe this summer thinking about a course at a college. They offer summer workshops or classes, and you can go and get connected to that school that way. All right, and then we're also encouraging them junior year to take the standardized tests. As mentioned here, more and more schools are now requiring them again. Some schools are optional, But we encourage our students to at least take the SAT or the ACT at least once, okay? So regardless of how they end up utilizing those scores, they have them. They can decide if they want to take it again or do additional test prep. But we do take the PSAT here twice, and then we encourage them to take the SAT on their own, just to have those scores for however they might need to use them. Some colleges do want them for like scholarship purposes too. And so that way we just like to have them have that ready to go. And then again, juniors will meet with us for individual meetings. And we will do that in the winter time. And then we also encourage them to start their Common App, okay? This is how most students will apply to colleges, if not directly, or if they're applying to California schools, they have their own California application. But most students will apply to the Common App. And this is an application tool where they'll create the application, they'll create an account, they'll create the application, do all the background information, demographics, education, they'll put in their courses, activities, they'll do all this upfront work, and then when they're ready, they can add up to 20 schools to that Common App account and apply directly through that system. And then we have that match up to our Naviance system here that we utilize, and so that's how we send letters of recommendation, transcripts. It gets matched to their Common App account, okay? But we'll talk more about that in detail over the next few years, but just to introduce that idea of the Common App to you. And then this leads up to senior year, where they're completing that Common App, the essay for their personal narrative. We encourage them to test again in the fall, where we have an in-school SAT. We're helping them to finalize their college list. We encourage students to at least have a minimum of 6 to 9 schools that they are considering. That includes some reaches, some safety schools, some maybe schools that they're considering. So they have a nice wide range of schools. And then again, that senior meeting. We're meeting with our seniors a month before their earliest deadline so that we can make sure that they have a good exhaustive list that they are confident about, that they have identified their letters of rec, so teachers who are writing letters of rec for them, and that we know where they're applying so that we can prepare documents and then meet their application deadlines. And so we have them meet with us at least 1 month before their earliest deadline. All right, so now I'm going to pass it on to Mrs. King, who's going to talk a little bit more about college visits, tours, and testing.
All right, good evening. I'm Katie Keene. So we have the blessing of having college fairs local to our area come annually. And so we encourage you and your student to take advantage of those. They're both fall and spring, typically. And the National Association of College Admission Counselors is what NACAC stands for, but that's one of the large ones here. We have the Pacific Northwest College Fair come as well on a smaller scale, coming from the PNW, those colleges there. And they usually meet in 2 locations. So they'll have a Seattle location and a Tacoma location. So do check those out. The college jet tour that comes here in our campus is pretty special. I want to say about 18 Jesuit colleges come here on campus, and you will get an opportunity to meet the reps and hear more, take their brochures and things. If your student wants to, I mean, as a sophomore, typically the Jesuit tour is when we pull the juniors out during class time. But if your sophomore is eager and they're excited to meet up with one of those representatives, they can arrange that with us. Otherwise, the Aero Tour, the Association for Regional Representatives of Oregon and Washington, there are also some colleges that extend beyond that. We had some from the South last year come. They line our hallways up here above the campus center here, and it's accessible during their lunch periods. So we do know that we have a tentative date on March 13th for the Aero Tour.
The college info sessions that we do here at Bellarmine every fall, they kind of wean out through the winter time and again spot in the spring, are, as Hillary mentioned earlier, representatives coming to our campus. They're a wonderful opportunity for your students to get to know the breeder, and it's easy for them to sign up. They just have to look into Naviance under college visits and sign up, let their teacher know that they're going to go to the visit and attend in the counseling center. So I can attest, I've had a couple students have the opportunity to meet a representative and their application was accepted a week later for one of them in particular. This one student of mine came into my office so excited about Baylor, and she went in there with all of her enthusiasm and was like, I would give my right leg to go to Baylor. And I literally said that. The representative did accept her application the next week, so that was special. Another opportunity came along for a student of mine this year. Believe it or not, USC is very popular, and so everyone's excited about California and Arizona, hotter temperatures. I had a student that was not interested in USC, but her friends were wanting to attend the visit. It became something she thought, well, I'll go check it out. She learned while she was in that meeting that it actually was a school that sounded like a really good fit for her. She recalled something that representative shared in that meeting. She quoted it in her essay later. So she went to visit the campus and wrote a little bit about, in her essay, one of the supplementals, what that representative had enlightened her to. I'll tell you today, she is the only one this fall that was accepted to USC. Whether or not she goes, I don't know. It's an expensive package, but she did get accepted. So the truth is there that you will be seen and noticed if you come prepared with questions and interact and engage. There are some great opportunities during spring break, our 3-day weekends that we get here and there spotted out throughout the year, and mid-August to go on campuses when the college students are in session. Without the students, you have buildings. You have a list of academics, and maybe they do meet your students' checklist about their potential best fit. But I will tell you, culture is huge. Every campus has a different vibe. And I've had students create that best fit list for themselves. And then when they go and attend for a visit, they are sadly disappointed and come back and say, it just wasn't me. So really encourage that. And as previously mentioned, the local campuses here, even if they won't attend them, give them a good foundation to know size. We have UW, huge. We have WSU, huge, for some kids. Then we have some mid-sized campuses. We've got Central, we've got PLU, we've got even ones in the downtown, University of Puget Sound. We've got St. Martin's. I mean, lots of them are accessible. So kids can kind of figure out, do I like being in a city? Do I like being more rural? Do I like a destination kind of campus? How does it feel to sit in an auditorium with 500 kids? How does it feel if I'm more recognized by my professors in a smaller scale school like PLU? All those questions get answered really quickly, even if they're not the school that they want to attend. They do have, they encourage you to use the websites to sign up for the tours, but of course, if you're on vacation, pop in, drop in, get a feel for what it is. Some schools do track your contact time and your demonstrated interest. So I do encourage the tours. PLU's one, they'll give you a $1,000 discount for taking a tour and signing up for that. So it's probably best to be recognized when you go on a tour. We have a really great online access point for virtual tours with thecollegetour.com. So if you can see up here, that's kind of how their website looks. They do mini conversations with college students on campus and put together a really great video for their colleges. So currently there are hundreds and hundreds of videos for them to get a view of the culture and the vibe and what students are there for. If you'll notice in the top of their website snapshot screen there, under resources, if you click that tab, there's an opportunity to take a free class, whether you're a first gen, second gen student, or if you're just exploring, wanting the traditional class. It takes you through a sequence of videos that start to help awaken the student to even know what is the best fit for them. It's going to explore those conversations about location, climate, culture, size, all of those things. So if your student's looking at you like a deer in headlights, this might be the first place you start, is just to get them to start to think about those things. Okay, so testing information, that happens to be me as well. Why testing, right? The SAT and the ACT both are standardized tests, widely accepted by all the colleges here in America that want to see a test score. Either one does not matter. But the climate is shifting towards a more, I would say, test optional policy in general. It was shifting that way prior to COVID as well. We saw the schools trending because of wanting equal access and opportunities for all students to come and attend college, may or may not have the ability to study and prep for a test. So we did see those things start to shift, and drastically during COVID. We can't control the government, we can't control the policies that go in place and things like that, and so that's why we encourage the testing. It's another data point in this holistic review. Doesn't necessarily help your student if they're a poor tester, but it's good to get a baseline. We want to really encourage you to explore this, because when we look at the school applications going out, statistics show it's nearly a 50-50 as to whether students submit or they don't submit a test score. But if you have one in your back pocket because you may need it, I think it's to your advantage. If you want to look at the statistics, it's of those students that apply with a test score, half of them are accepted. So again, it's a holistic review of your student, but it's another data point. It's particularly because of grade inflation. It's hard to compare when you've got students that have straight A's across the board from one school to another. So another consideration for a test score. As you heard earlier, the highly selective colleges tend to lean into that. They don't all require it, even all the Ivies. MIT, there's some other, the mini Ivies and some other schools that are leaning into test optional, but you'll want to explore their common data set. I'll get to that in a second a little bit more, so you can read a little bit behind the curtain. If it's applicable for a particular major, for example, or there's a direct entry program that might require, like computer science or something that's more selective, they may want to see a test score. But truly, when a school says it is optional, they mean it. So just know that I had a student this year who did not submit a test score to Brown, and she was accepted. So, fairtest.org is a wonderful website you can access to find out if your school is test optional or test blind, as they would say, and not consider it. Anyone have an idea how many colleges we have in America? You can shoot it out if you have it. 5,000? That's a pretty good guess. That's a really great guess. Degree earning programs, we have, that includes 2-year and 4-year, we have 4,000, just under 4,000. But there are the trades, there's other schools and technical schools that you will see up to about 5,000 or 6,000. Of those, 2,000 plus are test optional. So that's a good consideration for those that have test anxiety. You're going to want to check the details out, as I mentioned earlier, for those schools and their testing policies. If you go Google common data set for any college, any given college, it should take you to their published record, I would say, of their testing policy and of the details of their admission process. It's a voluntary report that colleges offer up, but just Google, it'll take you the fastest way directly into their website for that information. So at Bellarmine, we have some sequence of steps we want you to notice. We already saw that our sophomores took the PSAT in the fall. They're going to again take that in the spring of their junior year. So 2 pre-tests, right? Because that means Scholastic Aptitude Test is what the SAT stands for. So the P is the pre-test, okay? It's similar to the SAT, scored a little differently, but we're gonna have them take the fall test in their junior year. We highly encourage some test prep. Everybody knows the SAT and the ACT are difficult. Most of us don't naturally do well on a test like that. So test prep has been known to increase scores by 25%. It's significant, yeah. So we do encourage that you make a test prep plan. And then as a junior in the spring, after spring break, we're gonna offer them an SAT in-house. It's hard to get the test spots in the community. They're highly sought after. And so we recognize that, and we have an in-house one to guarantee you a spot. It's not a mandatory test, but it is an option for your students, and we highly encourage them to take advantage of that. There is other tests available, or other test sites available, and you're gonna wanna register early in the junior year for those spots. You can always cancel later, but we highly encourage you, and we'll remind you again of all these little details. I just want you to feel like we're prompting you along the way. You'll sign up possibly for another location for the SAT. Possibly you'll want to try out the ACT. Students generally, again, throwing the number out, 25% of the time will do better on one test than the other. They're both similar, but scored differently. Sometimes questions are worded differently. And so kids tend to do better on one than the other. And then, if needed, they would be able to test for another time additionally here in-house in the fall of their senior year. Okay? And the opportunity lies for them when they have multiple tests to super score. So super scoring is when they can take the best score of one date and combine it with the best score of another section on another date. So that gives you a little bit of an advantage when you have super scoring there. Not all colleges will take a super score, but many do. Okay? If you're a parent that's like really excited about improving their test scores, I highly encourage you to stop after 3 or 4. Okay? We don't see a lot of increase after that. So looking at our own students' PSAT scores here at Bellarmine, this is our data. So you might have heard the top score of an SAT is 1600. The top score of a PSAT is 1520. If you look at these numbers, the overall score for Bellarmine is a bit higher than our national average, 1029. Now you might be thinking that's a long ways away from 1520. And it is, but generally the information taught in a PSAT comes all the way through their junior year for most kids, unless they're advanced or they're super smart. So know that there's more for them to learn, and opportunities to test prep that will increase those scores. Okay? And then you can see that the way the PSAT scoring system breaks down, it's going to have a total score, and then it's going to break down reading and writing and the math score. That's how they break down. And you can see where our students were ahead of the national average. So we're thinking ahead strategically, reminding you that prepping is powerful. It helps, okay? There is a test prep budget in your household, right? You can pay all kinds of prices for test prep. That I want to encourage you to know there are options that are less expensive or, a greater expense. It's really up to you and the type of learner that you have, what you may need. We have a great resource list in our counseling department that we could share with you. It might be a little early to start prepping at this point as sophomores. We do offer an opportunity in this late summer. We have tutors across America come and do a boot camp for 3 days. We have one coming in March as well right now, if you're eager to get going on that. What boot camp will offer you is something unique to other programs because it's going to give you an opportunity to do a little pre-test opportunity for SAT and ACT, both during that time, and then they give you some skills. Then from that point, you can decide whether you go deeper, whether you take ACT or SAT from there, but they offer us a great deal. There's cards over here on the table for the Tutors Across America if you are interested. They come from Vegas and do this 3-day boot camp for $199 versus some of the other opportunities that might be more expensive. Then when you're looking ahead, I don't want to go too deep in the weeds on this, but you're trying to get all of your testing done prior to your application deadline. So the application deadlines are in the fall of their senior year, and you want to make sure you have the test scores back in time prior to that to be considered. So I would say the October date in the fall that we offer the in-house SAT is your last stopping point, okay? So I'm going to invite Mrs. Wilson back up here to help you go through the next one.
Okay, deep breath together. I know. I don't know about y'all, but testing just makes me like itchy. I don't know. All right, we love Mrs. King though because she's our testing coordinator. So if you have questions about testing, want to know more about it, feel free to reach out to her. She does lead all the testing here on campus, and so she's a great resource for that. All right. Okay, so we are rounding the corner. All right, so we are almost done. We just have a couple more touch points we want to share with you all before we get you out of here. We appreciate your attendance and for listening. Also, just to know, if you hadn't noticed, Mrs. Ford is not here with us this evening. She had to attend to her kiddo. But all our contact information is in our handouts. So please feel free to follow up with her, email her, set up a meeting if you would like to get to know Mrs. Ford if she is your student's counselor. Okay? All right, so ideal fit for your student. We've touched on this a lot, but just so that you know, this is what areas that we want your student considering when they're thinking about college. Not just what the credentials over that school or the prestige, but really how it applies to them, okay? So academic programs, majors that align with their interests. What are they considering studying? What do they want to do for a career? Does that school have that program? Likelihood of the student being accepted. We really want students to consider not only best fit, but is this school an achievable school for me based on my academic scores, test scores, areas of interest, right? We have a lot of students who apply to reach schools, and we would never discourage them not to. But it's not advantageous if you have a whole list of reach schools where they're just hard to get into. They're competitive for a reason. We want them to have a nice balance, so they're thinking about schools that they know they can get into as well. And then thinking about location, climate, size, like Mrs. Keene said, a lot of our students like to chase the sun. I'm not mad at them for that, all right? But really thinking about what is important to you, all right? Do you want to have nice weather? Is that even a factor? Maybe it's about the community. Maybe it's about the activities you can engage into. We have a lot of students who look at like some of our Midwest schools because they want to be able to have that best of both worlds, to be able to go ski on the weekend and then go to the lake. So some of that is important for our students. Size is very a key area to consider, all right? What is going to be an important benefit for your student? Where are they going to feel comfortable, all right? Bellarmine is a very unique, intimate school, and so for some of our students, the thought of going to a very large campus, large community is overwhelming. And so thinking about what is going to be a best fit for your student. And then internships, research opportunities, okay, for our students who like to participate in like honor programs or have access to exclusive research opportunities, thinking about those and asking those questions when you're going to the visits to see what that school may be able to offer in that regard. Academic support services, if you know your student has accommodations or needs, specific needs as a learner, these are good questions you want to check into when you're looking at a school. Manageable academic rigor to allow growth. We've had students, and I won't say the school, but a number of years ago we had students looking at schools because they were offering a lot of scholarship. And internally we knew that that school also doesn't do a great job of getting students out in 4 years. So these are things you want to think about, right? If I go to this school, am I going to be able to graduate? Will I have access to the classes I need at this school? These are things you want to consider. Extracurricular activities, student clubs and teams. We have students who are thinking about playing collegiate athletics, all right? They might not be at the level to play D1 or D2 or D3, but they might want to do recreational activities. And so does that school have those activities available to them where they can still continue that passion or interest? Affordable total costs. So thinking about tuition, fees, room and board, what is going to be that final sticker price, and what is that going to look like over the next 4 years, okay? That is important to have in that conversation and to talk to your students about now. My daughter said she wanted to go to SDSU, and I said, oh, okay. Cool. But I want you to add an in-state school to that list too, okay? Because I know what we can't afford and what we possibly can't afford. And so unless she's about to get a full ride, I need her to be looking internally. That's a conversation we're having now, okay? So preparing your students for what it realistically will look like. Because that's a hard conversation for your student to get into their dream school, and then you need to have a cost now, or talk about money, and that it might not be feasible, okay? So having those conversations now. And then career placement assistance. Do they have opportunities for job placement after they are finished with their major? Internship opportunities. How is your student going to now finish their degree and actually start applying in the workforce? What do those connections look like? And then maybe lesser known or not mentioned as much, but media lists. They still deliver great outcomes, so that's another way to kind of check in and see what is offered as a fit for your student, and seeing what that school, how they promote themselves, how are they sharing their offerings and their reputation in the community. So how can we help your student get ready with this next step, best fit conversation? So how many of you guys are aware of our college search tool, Naviance? Show of hands. Yes, those are probably our families who've had kids who have attended here before. But if you are not familiar, Naviance is our college search engine. We utilize Naviance to prepare students from freshman year all the way up to leading up to senior year, where they are utilizing this engine for applying to their schools, and we're connecting it with Common App. So it has programs on here that can help your student prepare now. They can start beginning their career exploration and looking at different pathways. They can explore interests in surveys, as well as search colleges, sign up for their college visits, track application process, they can also create a resume. I had a sophomore student who came in today asking, how do I build a resume? And so I got on Naviance, showed them how they can do that. There's a template where they put in the information, and then when they are ready to utilize it, they can print it, and it becomes formatted into a working resume that they can utilize for internships or for jobs. So that's a feature that's on here. And then also we have a running database of scholarships that are available that you can start tracking now for your sophomore student so that you have an idea of what ones you want to apply to later on in the process. It's the worst thing to come across a scholarship that would be perfect for your student and the deadline has already passed, okay? So starting to build that list now is where parents can really support their students. And then, so we want to talk to you about how you can get on to Naviance as well. Our administrative assistant, Mrs. Hamilton, sent out an email earlier today to all of our sophomore families. In that email is an access code. And so if you go to student.naviance.com, you can go on there and you will just click I am new and need to register. It will give you the option to enter in your registration code, and then you will create an account that way, and then create a password. So you will be connected to the account that your student is already utilizing. So you can see what they're on there doing, you can see how they're searching and liking and utilizing these activities that we are introducing to them, and you can also get on there and play around and search schools as well. Okay? Right now, for your sophomore student, we have introduced the Career Interest Profile. This is an assessment tool that they can go on to Naviance and complete, where it looks at their personality, interests, and strengths, and then produces a profile for them based on that interest, okay? And so they can kind of see if it lines up to what they're already thinking and if it's picking up on their strengths. And then it also gives them suggestions of different careers as well that they can further research, see what is the commitment for that major, how many years of school, what's the average salary, where you can see that being beneficial in the nation, okay? And then we've also encouraged them to complete their profile, start a resume. We have students starting to put in their different activities that they're participating in now, any extracurricular activities or sports. These are just good data that they can start including now, even if they're not ready to use that resume, because over the next couple years, they're going to be engaged in a lot of different things. And so it's good to just track that now in case they forget, so that when they're getting ready to do that college application, they can list all the things that they've been involved in, okay? And then, of course, the search college and add colleges. We are encouraging students now to start checking out colleges now and adding to that colleges I'm thinking about list. Again, this is just good data and knowledge for them as they prepare for this process, but also will help moving into junior year for them to take this list that they've already created and then start utilizing it as schools are going to start applying to. And they've already researched, collected data, know about the programs, and so it just makes them better suited to start applying to schools knowing what that school has to offer. Okay? So again, you can log on to Naviance, have access, and be able to see what we are promoting for your student and track that as well. And it's in your email, the registration code, okay? And we'll be utilizing Naviance over the next few years. We also do a lot of communication through Naviance as well. I'm also the graduation coordinator, and so we communicate, send scholarship, and then information about graduation all through Naviance. So just know that when you see that Naviance email, it is a trusted source. I've had people say, well, it looks like spam. Okay, go ahead and add it to your addresses that are saved because it is how we communicate out. It just looks kind of funny, but it'll say Wilson T from Naviance, okay? So that's a little bit about Naviance. Now going into extracurricular. So we talked a lot about how important this year is for your student to get engaged, get involved, and start getting connected. So we're going to highlight some of the resources and supports that we know here at the school and in the community that'll be great for your student to engage in now. So talk a little bit about a passion project. So this is something that over the years has been growing in interest. It's another way to really present your passion and interest to a potential school. And it's a way for your students to maximize something that they're already interested in and involved in and committed to. So colleges value students who take initiative to pursue their passions. It shows you care about something and you acted on it. It aligns with academic or personal interests. So examples would be create a positive change through an online presence, using a combination of a website or a YouTube, podcast, or media. Create a LinkedIn account with a resume and land a research assistant position or internship. You could write a book or an article, but something that got published is something that is really can really help you stand out to colleges as well. For example, I had a student a number of years ago who had their own small quartet. They were really passionate about music, and together him and a friend created an album that they then went and donated for free at the Children's Hospital, and they were able to raise a lot of money with that. And so that was like an example of a great passion project. It was something he was already interested in, something he was already doing, and he just took that and kind of maximized it to share it with the community, okay? He ultimately went on to get a full ride presidential scholarship to a school, okay? So that passion project probably had something to do with it, okay? And then exploring interest in jobs, shadows, and internships. Research out to local organizations in the community that will have opportunities like this. We recently had a career panel here at the school in the first semester, and so we have a nice data collection of alumni from Bellarmine who are out in the field in their professions working and have offered opportunities to our students to job shadow and internship. And so if that's something that your student is interested, they can come and check with us for those listings and contacts, and we can show them how to engage those people and how to reach out for those opportunities. Next, they can also check with Bellarmine's Director of Alumni, Ann Gibbs, at this address, and she can also connect you to our ongoing alumni database. And then it's not uncommon for students to search the internet, collegevine.com, and the National Association for High School Scholars is also available. It's going to have different resources and available that you can check out and get ideas and opportunities for your student to engage in as well. And then you can also take a course, okay? It may not be for credit, but students can learn a new skill. There's some additional options here. I like the mini med kit that's offered through Multicare, that students can sign up. It's 2 weeks in the summer, and where they learn about how to provide medical services, how to take blood pressure, how to wrap an injury. And so these are just good skills for a student who might be considering the medical field, okay? And then finding research opportunities. Again, you can look locally or through different connections that you might have. You could reach out to your local universities and see if your student might be able to participate in a research project that they already have going on. You can search the internet. There's College Matchpoint, as well as, again, College Find, or your student can check in with us for different opportunities for research. And then invest in others. Of course, at Bellarmine, we are mission-driven. We are about service to others. And so there's lots of opportunities here at school where students can serve and volunteer, but also consider your local food banks, just different ways that students can get connected to their community and give back. There's volunteermatch.org, as well as dosomething.org, but we can also help students with ideas as well. This is a list of our summer camps, language immersion, and travel abroad opportunities. Some of these are community-based as well as here at Bellarmine. Shirts Across America you might be familiar with. They offer leadership trips as well as workshops. You can Google them and find out about different trips that they have going on. They are still taking applications. So if your student is interested in taking like a travel abroad opportunity, they have different options as well. And then Courts for Kid trips. Applications for this open typically in September. Students are already committed to the ones for this year, but we put this up there so you can see an example of where students are going and the opportunities that your student can access next year as a junior. So they are going to Guatemala over spring break, Dominican Republic this summer, and Costa Rica this summer through Courts for Kids. And then Ignatian Family Teach-In for Justice. This is a newer program. Mrs. Rink is leading this, and they are going to DC. Applications for this open in September, and there will be more information about this opportunity for students. And then we have the language immersion trips. These are offered this summer as well. They are going to China, Colombia, and Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand. And so again, great opportunities for your students to really connect, travel abroad, and get like these cultural influences. And then Global Scholars is a language immersion program that is newer. Students will get more information about this in our upcoming formation meeting on February 19th. But it's a great program that students can now actually, as sophomores, enter into now, and then they will participate in this program over the next 3 years. It's a great way to stand out to colleges if you are interested in language. And then E3 is a greenhouse program. So for your students who are interested in nature and the environment, they'll learn more about that. And then Capstone is a research-based program too. That's also a 3-year-long research commitment. And then Global Leadership Adventures. You can check more about them at this link. But just, again, more opportunities for students to connect and find out what's going on in their community. And if they're interested, be able to travel, volunteer, and provide service. All right, and now I'd like to welcome Mr. Scotty. You haven't heard from him yet today, so a new face, a new voice, all right? And then he'll close us out for the evening.
Okay, welcome. Just sitting here watching it, there's so much information, and so I just wanted to let everybody know, if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us at any point, especially for this next few slides. This might not apply to many of the students here, but it's within athletics, military, and ROTC opportunities. Okay, so would your student like to be a collegiate athlete? So just for a raise of hands, who would be interested in that? One of your students would be interested? Okay, so more than I thought. Okay, awesome. Well, what we do here is we want students to already fill out a release of information. So usually students will come in here and meet with the counselor. They'll talk about, their interest in going into a sport. And so we right away suggest that they sign up and fill out a release of information form. If they're sophomores, obviously they're going to be under 18. So we have them and their parent fill out the signatures and get it back to us. After that, then we suggest that they register with the NCAA Eligibility Center. And that is actually free. They can do that now. If they're looking for playing at a D1 or D2 level, we suggest that they sign up for this option 3. And you can go to it, I don't know the website, but if you just put in NCAA eligibility, Google that, it'll pop up. You go right to the center and you can fill that option 3 out. It's $100. It's $160 for international, but $100 for that account. And then that will track. Students can submit their transcript, and then that will be something that they will have. Let's say their senior year, when they decided to go somewhere to a school, we will send out their final transcripts and submit that on the NCAA Eligibility Center. There's other things you can do too, and by the way, these are not required. Everyone has their own way of kind of looking into, playing in college. I'll just give you my example real quick. This is quite a few years ago. I'm dating myself, but I played soccer. I was offered multiple scholarships. One was a full ride. I didn't go there because I didn't want to go. I went to O'Day High School. I didn't want to go to Seattle University. That was a full ride scholarship. I wanted to go at the time, and they were an NAIA school. Oregon State was a school that I was interested in. I went there. So everybody has that, every student is looking at their schools. The great part about this now is that students can do all this searching, the research with, on the internet. And they can find the school that has a program that has the sport all over the country. So it makes it a lot easier. Some of these profiles will suggest like Huddle, which takes video. A lot of colleges and college coaches will really, expect video involved with the recruiting process. When students come in and they talk to me about things, they actually ask, what can I do? The first thing they can do is go on the college's website that they're interested in and sign up on the questionnaire, or actually fill out information on the questionnaire. I don't think students should expect that the coach will, call them back right away. It usually doesn't happen. The assistant coaches are the ones that are part of that questionnaire, and there's some communication that goes on from that. So, you're going to see a lot of videos too. I think students are seeing a lot of videos and what you can do to get, interest. And that could be another conversation that we have when students come in, because right away I think there's a lot of information out there. And taking, for example, every sport is going to have their own way of doing things. We also mentioned social media profiles. Those are great as well. It's a lot of exposure that's out there between Instagram and Twitter. Capturing the athleticism. Again, between film and social media, that is helpful. Summer camps is another part of this. And we're talking about another expense as well. So, in addition to all these, of course, if we're talking about, D1 and D2, we're talking, some pretty high-level athletes here. So the expectations could be high. I think it goes without saying that we're talking about playing outside of just their school too, as you are probably know. So, when a student comes in and they're asking about colleges, I'm asking questions about, if they're playing outside of school. We have some volleyball players. I can tell you a volleyball player that graduated last year, she didn't have a school that she played for. She didn't have a school that was interested in her, really. And this girl was a top player, an all-state player, played for a top club, and all of a sudden, in the summertime before her senior year, she started getting noticed, and then she started emailing me and saying, hey, I got this school, and all of a sudden, a school saw her playing in a showcase. So a showcase is something that, athletes go to, and a wide variety of coaches. Well, she got noticed and she got a scholarship. So every journey is different. So doing these things, I can tell you, will be helpful. Does it say that it happens every time? No. But I think working with us is really important too when they come in, because we can also submit their transcripts to coaches that are interested. So yeah, lots of things that can be helpful. Just for reach out to, I think coaches really appreciate when there's communication from the student, not just like a counselor or a coach. When they see students reach out, it's really, really valuable. Okay, so in the summertime, this is, I think, tentative right now, but how to get recruited workshop. So this is really interesting. We're gonna see if students would be interested in coming during the summertime, and we'll kind of go through this in more detail, kind of what I'm talking about. How coaches recruit, the different levels in sports within D1, D2, D3, and the NAIA. So D1 and D2 will give scholarship. NAIA will give scholarship as well. D3 unfortunately does not. And I will tell you, if you go on the NCAA website and look at some of the statistics, the percentages of playing in high school and then college is, less than 5%, some within 2%. So we talked about expectations before, really having expectations too, and being realistic about what students are doing. Unfortunately, playing at a high level means that you're playing year-round for these sports, and so students have to really think about what that entails. The other thing, like I said, communicating with coaches through email, call, and text. That's usually after the junior year, by the way, if that happens at all. And creating, obviously, highlight skills video, and then the camps again. Okay, one thing that we do here too, and we're planning for this around March 25th, in about a month, a little over a month. We do a informational meeting for military academies and ROTC. So we have people from the U.S. Coast Guard, Air Force Academy, Navy Academy, West Point, and then on ROTC, John Govea. He's an incredible resource from PLU. He suggests if people are interested in any ROT scholarship, that they come and see him. You can get an ROT scholarship before you get into a college of your choice, so it's pretty incredible. And he has a wealth of information. So I always suggest that students, if they're interested in any of these, that they come to this workshop. It's going to be during a lunch. We usually have it for about, an hour or so. If it goes past the lunchtime, we actually give a permission for them to stay. These individuals are tremendous. We're going to have two this time from West Point, so it should be a great event for students. And for sophomores, we're going to invite sophomores, maybe some freshmen that are super interested, but those three classes, freshmen through juniors. So yes, and then we're going to have, so like I said, the event will most likely be around the 25th. I like to do it right before the break, so we keep their interest. One example for a student, he came to this event. Long story short, he got accepted to West Point, so he's got a full ride to West Point, and he said that going to this event and talking to these representatives, all six of them, by the way, it wasn't just West Point, that he got the idea to apply. Okay, so I'm just going to go quickly through this. This is whether or not we should hire, or you should hire a college admission consultant. They're called independent educational consultants, by the way. It's not for everyone. So you kind of have to seek this out if it's something that you would be interested, or you think that your son or daughter would be interested in. We say don't let fear motivate you. A lot of parents will think, well, I have to do this. It's not required. Everybody has their own way of looking at this. From an organizational standpoint, it might be very helpful for your student. That's what we're looking at. For some, they don't need it. Maybe they're motivated and have priorities and can keep those priorities in order. For some, they might need some help. So that's something that you will need to decide on. But there's loads of free information out there, and and wonderful resources. I think we share quite a bit, but it doesn't have to be something that a lot of students might be pressured to do that too. I've talked to so many that have used it and have recommended it highly. I've talked to them in person. I've talked to some that actually are in colleges of great schools and say that's helped them. But with some effort, I think some people can move right through the process without spending a dime. We've seen that too, totally resourceful. So it's just up to, what people want to do. And yeah, I don't think there's a golden ticket that, if you do something, then that means you're going to get into a school like Katie had mentioned about USC. I'll add to that. Unfortunately, a 4.0 or 4.6 weighted GPA and off the charts SAT scores like, over 1,500. Unfortunately, does not get you into, even for USC. And so there's other things that, schools are looking at. And we just had one, correct? That was just the one student that got that. And we have many stories about that as well. But if it's something that can be useful, there's definitely some resources for you. These are just some questions that you can ask. So just, if you see that, just some things that you can maybe look into or to ask those consultants. What's your training experience in schools? How many colleges have you visited this year? And last, your memberships. We mentioned about the NACAC. How do you work with students? Maybe some of them are really geared towards, their way of learning. Maybe they're more visual. How often are you available? That's important for some. Most importantly, the money, right? How much is it going to be? Some are like quite a bit per hour. Some have some packages, all the way up to, 7,500 or so. And then of course we've seen some real expensive ones. We won't share those, but not here. I don't know if we have those here, but there's a lot that we've read about, students really wanting to get into a certain college, and there's people out there that do that type of a service. And can I speak to other families that you work with? So that's something that might be a great question, and seeing the results that have happened. Okay, so just to recap, we want to continue to build a strong academic record for your students here. Want to make sure that continues. Next is finding a successful balance of rigor in courses, that great balance, that where they're challenged just enough. I think that's really important here. We get that a lot with students wondering if they should do AP or honors classes. We always try to say, we want students to be challenged just enough where they're not going to be, stressed out and it's causing them to kind of lose interest in other things. We want them to have a life here, obviously. We want them to be happy. We want them to be always energetic when they're in school. And then also pursuing their interests that serve others. Explore colleges, attend college fairs, and visit campuses. I think what's outlined to come, especially within the next couple months with our tours, especially our jet tours and our other admission counselors coming here, just a wealth of different things that students can be interested in. And then of course our test prep, testing, application, essay, and beginning the next year. Okay, so feel free to take our post survey here. Our presentation materials will be made available on our My Bellarmine under the counseling tile. And we were going to see you again. Junior Parent Night, Rising Senior Parent Night, and then Senior College Night. Well, thank you guys for coming in. We really appreciate it.